about a professor of moral philosophy called Holder in Germany in the 1930s. And it's the story of how he takes a series of what seem to be very small steps towards becoming one of the monsters of the Holocaust. So at the beginning of the play, he's living in Frankfurt, working at the university, having a very difficult time at home with his wife and with his mother. And he vents his frustration at his situation by writing a pro-euthanasia novel as part of his academic programme at the university. And this work of fiction is picked up on by the emerging Nazi Party, and they take him on one side and say, this is an incredible piece of scholarship, and it's really important that we have people like you on our side so that we can fashion our various programmes to be carried out in the most humane, morally robust way. And so he takes this first small step towards saying, okay, well, I'll have a look at the way that your first programmes are starting to work and make sure that they're all humane. And it's about how he moves from that position towards becoming incrementally one of the people that are running Auschwitz. So it's about a series of moral compromises in a political fog. The play was written in 1981, and I think that really the most remarkable thing about it is how perfect a marriage it brings about between theme and format. So it is about a man who is living in a fog, who doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy, is continually juggling his idea of what is real and what is abstract. And the format of the play itself bears that out. So we move very rapidly from one scene to the next, from one location to the next. He's often living in two realities at the same time. And the play has this fantastic conceit running all the way through it, which is the music that Holder hears in his head. So every time he comes up a decision that he finds difficult to negotiate, Marlene Dietrich pops up out of a teapot and sings him a song which distracts him for the right amount of time so that the decision gets made almost under the radar without him noticing it. So I think that the play is such a classic because it is so theatrically imaginative, innovative, brave and unusual. Because those pieces of theatrical bravery so perfectly embody the state of mind that the lead character is going through. And I think that it is a particularly unusual piece of drama in that it forces us to be on the side of somebody whose political profile we've been trained to despise. So it's an incredibly brave piece of playwriting in that it makes the baddie the goodie, which is an unusual thing to do, I think. So I think all in all, I think that you could say it was one of the most surprising, one of the bravest, and indeed one of the most significant plays of the 20th century. Well, it's the perfect theatre to be directing it in, really, because the play is to a great extent set inside somebody's head. So to have a kind of a brain-shaped space is absolutely the perfect setup for it. And I mean, it's a magical theatre, the Exchange, and it allows for a kind of fluidity and a kind of exhilarating energy in a way that very few other theatres do, because you literally never know where the next thing is going to come from, which is exactly perfect for this particular play. The way that the music is used in the play is surprising, I think, and it works in some respects against the gravity of the subject matter. So there is quite an exciting, I think, tension between the kind of musical comedy element of the music popping up from unexpected and bizarre places and the obviously very weighty, very serious theme of the play as a whole, which I hope should be part of what's fun about the experience of watching it, is that there is this kind of, it engenders this tension all the way through it. We've got the most fantastic cast for this, and they're all multitasking in the most extraordinary, incredibly committed way. So nearly everybody is performing, not just as an actor but also as a musician. So there isn't a cast member that hasn't been asked to pick up a cowbell at some point during the course of the rehearsal period. So we've got a lot of actor musicians. We're about 50-50 between people who are more or less doing just straight acting, even though they are doing little bits of music here and there, and people who are fully fledged acting musicians who are popping up around every possible corner to sing a song and then act a part and change a costume and do all the rest of it. So they're the most spectacularly creative, hard-working, committed cast that we could possibly have asked for. The last time I was here was when I was working for Sarah Franken, and she was directing a production of Three Sisters and I was playing Natasha, so that was about 3 years ago now, which was a really fantastic experience, and in fact that was the last acting job that I had. So it's really wonderful to have begun my relationship with The Exchange in one way and to be able to develop it in such an exciting new way now. But I did a lot of acting. I was acting professionally from when I was a kid. So I was one of those awful kids that used to pop up on BBC Tea Time in a bonnet when I was about 12. And carried on doing a lot of that and really loved it, and then just started directing at university. And my relationship with The Exchange is one of the key things that gave me the confidence and the opportunity to start really developing that as a proper strand of my professional life. So it's particularly delightful to be back here.